of space, I think, but it's also something to do with our reality and our lived experiences here on the African continent. Apparently, Africa's misrepresentation on world maps is not just a cartographic error, it's a narrative issue. This is what is a stance of two advocacy organizations, Africa No Filter and Speak Up Africa, who are launching the Correct the Map campaign to put an end to what they say is an enduring falsehood. Want to find out what this is all about? What is the Correct the Map campaign? I've always thought maps were very accurate, so I wonder what is their gripe here. We'll be speaking to Abim Abola Agundairo, who is the advocacy and campaigns lead at Africa No Filter. That's going to be a very cool conversation that's coming up. And then we're going to look at something very, very cool. I don't know if you submitted essays as a young teenager or poetry, or if you had published works as a teenager. Have you ever?
On Free for All. I've had one published work on Free for All.
Yeah. I remember magazines used to also allow us to actually send poetry and stuff.
Yes,
and then
I
think it was Daily Sun back in the day. Very weird paper. I got published in the Daily Sun back in the day when I was a teenager. And then also a poetry publication. I wonder where that book is. It must be somewhere in my stack of books at my grandmother's house. Mm-hmm. But yeah, all of those things are very cool. And what that does for you is kind of like a confidence boost.
Absolutely.
I can write. Yes. I can do this. Yes. I'm a great writer. So this is also cool because it also allows literature to not be experienced from the reading perspective, but from partaking it as a writer. This is something that is a call out with what's called the Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative that's calling on teens across the continent from the ages of 13 to 19 to share their stories under the theme One Africa, Many Voices. That's what's coming up in our second hour. That should be fun. When I'm speaking to Nomawele Njongo, who is the author and founder of Kwazi Tina Publishers. So that's what's coming up. We're also going to have our artist profile. An emerging artist by the name of Jacob will be joining us a little bit later on the show.
Looking forward to that. Be with us and hang out with us for the next 3 hours. This is On the Move with myself, Palesa Tau and Benjamin Moshatama. Tune in on www.channelafrica.co.za, but also be a part of our social media platforms. We're live on Facebook, we're live on Instagram, we're live on YouTube. At Channel Africa 1 is where you can find us on most of our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are simply Channel Africa. And of course, we also want to hear your voice. So call us, voice note us, WhatsApp us on +27 63 406 9126. Hop on, we're on the move.
Vue d'Afrique.
Ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other.
Hey, I love this one because it's an investigation of our perceptions, but also perceptions that we thought were imprinted in reality because of what we think is a norm. According to two advocacy organizations, they state that Africa's misrepresentation on world maps is not just a cartographic error. They say it's a narrative problem that we're seeing. That's the stance of two groups titled Africa No Filter, and the other one is Speak Up Africa. They're launching what is called the Correct the Map campaign to put an end to what they say is an enduring falsehood. The campaign is calling on international organizations, including the UN, World Bank, and BBC, to switch to the Equal Earth Map projection, a fairer and more accurate representation of global geography. This is an interesting one. Through a global petition and campaign charter, the initiative invites institutions politicians, educators, and media platforms to pledge their commitment to using maps that depict Africa's true size. Have you seen how Africa looks? Apparently, it looks very small compared to the rest of the other continents. But apparently, Africa is huge. It's huger than the depictions on the maps.
Actually, we were speaking to Peter Ndora, and he was speaking about the fact that the Americas look bigger on the map than Africa, but they're only about over 9 million square meters. However, Africa is around 30 million square meters, so more than 3 times the size, but it's depicted as much smaller than the Americas.
Okay, that's a big problem, I think. Big. But let's find out why. Abimbola Agundiairo joins us on the line, advocacy and campaigns lead at Africa No Filter. Abimbola, thank you for joining us here on Channel Africa.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Let's talk a little bit about this. It's just size, isn't it? It's just a depiction. It doesn't mean anything. Why should we care?
I'm going to respond to that question with a fun fact. As you were discussing, I was so excited. You can fit the US, China, India, and much of Europe into Africa and still have space. Then based on the reaction to that fun fact, I feel like that perfectly underscores the why. The fact that we are so taken aback by what the facts really are, it lets us know the lie we've believed for so long. And it's so important because if we have such mismatched, ideas of reality, it impacts how we make decisions about ourselves. It impacts what you think a successful business looks like on the continent. If foreign investment is even going to come in, it impacts how much power the continent is perceived to have, on the global scale, because people just think, well, it's just a small continent. So I think the question is, what does it not impact truly? Because I see it impacting everything.
And that's an interesting one that you're highlighting that, because one would think that size doesn't really matter. It's actually just a thing that is, a minimal impact when it comes to how we think about ourselves on the African continent. Why do you think it matters that the fact that we are of a big size and that we are misrepresented when it comes to international maps? And why do you think this is? Do you think this is a deliberate attempt to actually make us feel small?
So at Africa No Filter, we've done a ton of research, trying to underscore the impact of narratives. One of them being produced last year that tried to quantify how much stereotypes are costing the continent. And this is inflated payments only. That came to $4.2 billion. But that's just one aspect of it. Why does this matter? To me, personally, as a young African, it matters that when I think greener pastures, when I think, I'm about to go somewhere and make it big, it's crazy that the places that come to mind for me are outside the continent. There is rarely an appreciation for the vastness and the diversity that exists within the continent. That's from an African point of view. If I was a non-African as well, the fact that there is so little information about how big and just how different the different various opportunities that exist, it's crazy to me. And where did this come from? Just to be clear, I wouldn't say it was an intentional projection to make us small. So the most popular map we all see is called the Mercator projection, and all projections distort, right? But the problem is this distortion particularly was made for sailors in the 1600s, but this is 2025 and it's still lingering. There's so many articles and so many people that have come out to say, okay, we know this is not factual. It doesn't preserve our size relative to other continents on the map. So the question is, why are we holding on to an identity that no longer fits? Maybe before we knew better, it was, the right or the only option. But there are so many options now, including the Equal Earth, that is actually a fairer, more accurate projection worldwide. So why aren't we doing that? I think it's less about why it was done to us in the first place and more about how can we ensure that now that we know the facts, now that we see the impact of it, we can correct and just be on top of things as Africans.
But let's speak about that impact, Abimbola, because perhaps a lot of us don't really understand what the impact is. Geography is a huge part of history. As you just said, this map that we're using was for, way back when, the 1800s, maybe even before that, for sailors of that time. And even though a lot of things have changed in our history, that map has remained the same. What has essentially been the impact, perhaps those that are tangible and intangible social or psychosocial impacts that we've had as a continent due to the size that is depicted of us on this map?
I think the first one that I'm going to speak up is this involuntary clumping of the entire continent into one. You find many times the biggest stereotypes we see is Africa is a country.
Yes.
Right. And perhaps because of how it's represented visually, it's just one country. It's there. If we were represented as we are supposed to be on the map, I dare say no one would even mentally conceive that Africa is a country, just because you can see how much space it's taking up. The next is going to be in terms of policy, in terms of allocation, in terms of the sense of power that we mentally allocate to Africa when we talk Africa. We've had different platforms where you see, a China Africa conference or a Russia Africa. You find one country summoning a continent of 54, and 1.2 billion people, because of still that mental picture of, it's just a small place. We've seen slots being allocated to Africa in different decision-making processes that do not actually reflect the size of the place. And it for me, the biggest one is the identity. The fact that when I step up to a 10-year-old African or a teenage African in school and I just say, did you know that Sambisa Forest, which is actually a reserve in the northeastern part of Nigeria, is actually bigger than Belgium?
Wow.
And never combined? Their mind goes, wow, I didn't even realize how big my place is. I didn't even realize the space I take up in the world as an African. And perhaps that has the role they feel they can play in global development or in just the development of their community. So size really does matter, because you as you are, you think, right? Think we're small, it means we've been playing small.
Yeah.
But if we begin to correct the map and really show us as we are, we can need to step up to the place with all the materials and resources that we know that we have.
All right, let's take a bit of a break. This is fascinating, and I think the psychological elements are something that stand out for me here as you continue to speak from an education perspective, but also how we do life, how we do business, also how we carry ourselves with pride as Africans. I think you have a point there. We're speaking to Abimbola Agundiairo, who is an advocacy and campaigns lead at Africa No Filter. We'll continue the conversation. What do you think in terms of this conversation? Do you think that they should relook the map? Because Africa is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, continents on the world. However, we look like the smallest, don't we, on these modern maps? Give us your thoughts on our WhatsApp number, +27 63 406 9126. Thank you, Hanik Black, for joining us on our live stream. I see John Ngwananika as well there. Ntanga Jr. is also on our live stream. Let us know where you're listening to Channel Africa from. Let's take a break. We'll come back to this conversation.
Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping
subjects in high school. And it makes me very sad that actually the biggest lie in geography is about Africa. So we're speaking about the lie that has been told on the size of Africa, on the international maps that most of us use across the world. And we're speaking about a campaign that's calling on international organizations, including the UN, the World Bank, and BBC, to switch to the Equal Earth Map projection, which projects a fairer and more accurate representation of of global geography, and of course the African continent. We continue this conversation with advocacy and campaigns lead at Africa No Filter, Abimbola Ogundairo. Thank you so much for staying with us. Well, let's speak about this campaign itself. This has obviously, the map that we're using has been used for centuries, on centuries and centuries before. And sometimes it takes so much time to fix something that's become a global norm for such a long time.
Absolutely, it really does. And that's exactly why there's three different goals for us on this campaign. The first is awareness, and second is conversation. We need to talk about it. We need to be able to let people see that, first of all, this lie does exist, and then there is an impact to it. And the third is change. Now that we know about it, what do we want to do about it? The solution is so simple. If you represent Africa on the map, whether you have a map on the wall, in school, at your house, in your office, on your website, whatever the case may be, we all have a role to play in correcting the map. I like the fact that there's not one map in the sky that is a central map that we all have to correct, but we all represent Africa one way or the other. So if I, as Abimbola, decide that the map that comes into my house, is the equal Earth projection that does not distort, the size of continents relative to each other, I have played my part. And then the next step is for us to get as many institutions as possible to do the same, because we cannot keep partaking, right, in the lie about us. So as African institutions, we need to do that. And then we need to speak about it as well to get even non-African institutions to recognize the impact and follow suit. I like to start from within, because we have the agency to solve the things that we see. We have the agency to change, the pathways we don't want to continue on anymore. So that would be the first to do.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you're saying that the change must come from within, because Africa has always been perceived as a continent that's always begging other parts of the world to do right by Africa. So, begging the UN, the World Bank, you guys need to switch to the right map. And one would say, in fact, one of our colleagues, Asanda, was like, what about if Africa just changes all its own maps and only uses this equal Earth map itself? How do you think that will change our perception of ourselves, but also how do you think that will change the world's perception of us if we unilaterally start using this equal Earth map?
As you were saying that, I got goosebumps, because that's exactly what my dream is. Think of Afrobeats. Think of the fact that we were just doing our own thing. I don't think we ever sat down, or Amapiano sat down and said, you know what, I want to convince the rest of the world that is not Africa.
Yeah.
We just did our thing. We enjoyed ourselves, and now, we're a global sensation. So I think it's the very same. I truly picture a world where within the continent, within the 54 countries, there's platforms existing. First, there's private individuals and institutions that say, you know what, we're correcting. But then there's also policies, whether from the national government point of view, the educational boards, the AU, just letting member states know that we are no longer partaking in this lie about ourselves, and we fix it. If the orientation for generations to come is corrected in that way, I can only imagine what the impact is. But as you mentioned, the UN, the World Bank, BBC, those are also very key institutions on the global stage. And at the very least, those are people that need to be visibly seen, to be taking accountability when you discover such a stereotype is being perpetrated, right? There is no scientific backing, for using the Mercator projection if you want to adhere by geography rules. Sizes are supposed to be kept proportional to each other, but the Mercator doesn't do that. So in as much as we are garnering support within as well, we also understand the role that these global play in setting the example for institutions worldwide. And that's why we're also channeling energy towards the petition. The petition is available on change.org, and we're inviting every African and non-African who has decided to correct the map. Because like I said, anyone can and everyone should. And then take it one step further. You sign the petition. Let's add our voices. Let's get more people knowing about it. Let's put pressure on the right people to do something about it. And then we can truly, truly say we've corrected the map.
You know, when you were speaking about Afrobeat and when you were speaking Amapiano, I'm like, hey, let's not have a Nigeria-South Africa competition around which one is the better genre. We don't want to start that
I
fight.
love it so much.
But let's come to just wrapping up the conversation in terms of identity and images and how we relate to those as Africans. You know, that's been a long fight for us as Africans, how we are being depicted, especially by the West or also by the world in general. How important is that fight for us to want to be represented as we are and not how people want to frame us?
I think it's a prayer answered. It's the prayer of generations, answered. When I think back to all the freedom fighters that we can highlight, several countries on the continent, it's always been that we will finally come to a space where, we can inhabit any platform just the way we are. We don't have to conform. There's no pre-colonial legacies, post-colonial. There's nothing hindering us from being the way that we are. For me, that's the biggest thing, because I truly look forward to the African version of globalization, development, whatever that growth looks like. But it feels very much that there's been so many impediments, and the narrative is the biggest part of it. You know how they say until the lion learns to tell its story, the hunter will tell it for it. We've been reading stories that have been written by hunters for so long that we seem to have forgotten who we are. We seem to not know of our capabilities. And so that mindset shift, that identity, that image truly, truly needs to be reflective so that we can see. I, for one, want to see what I'm capable of. I want to see what is available to me in my country, in my continent, and I want to be able to make sound decisions with all that information available. How can I make a sound decision if the very information about myself is so thwarted, is so warped, it's so far from reality? So that's on a personal level. Yeah. On business friends who say, wow, because now I know how big the continent is. When I'm thinking scaling, when I'm thinking expansion on the continent, my mind has just been opened to a certain level. I thought to expand, I needed to go to Paris, or I needed to open, but now I see the sheer possibilities. And so those are the different aspects that we at Africa No Filter are trying to break. We're dismantling the stereotypes, sure, little by little, calling on more Africans to recognize the truth and act based on the truth that they now see. And it may seem like an ideal, vision to have, but I really, really look forward to where we've dismantled everything. What we have is just us as we are, and we're living life and making decisions based on those facts.
Yeah, well, we have to wrap it up. Just to remind us once again, Abimbola, where do we go to be part of the petition? I think Palesa and I want to get online right now and support this initiative.
Really? So thanks so much for expressing that. The first thing you need to do is go to correctthemap.org, and that's where you will see all the information relating to this. You will see why it matters. You'll be able to even see the difference between the old map and the new map. And we have created resources, educational, whatever they may be. So if you want to talk about this online, you can go ahead and share. The next thing I would like you to do is go to the charter page. It's just beside the petition. Once you click there, put your signature, but also commit to using the correct map. It's available for your download. In whatever form, you can begin to use the right map with immediate effect, and then speak about it. The hashtag is correct the map. Let people know. Tell someone today, did you know that Africa is, more than three times the size of the US, but the map doesn't show it. Yeah. So that's what we need: awareness, conversation, and change.
Thank you so much, Abimbola. We have to let it go there. Thank you for giving us your time here on Channel Africa. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, that is Abimbola Agundiro, who is an advocacy and campaigns lead at Africa No Filter. What do you think about that? How we are misrepresented on multiple maps? There seems to be a map where we look small. That's the one we used to as Africans. What's your take on that? Do you know that the continent is bigger than most of the other continents on the world? Why do we look small? Do you think that should be actually redesigned, and we should have the accurate representation of how the world looks alike and how Africa fits in that. To give us your thoughts on that on our WhatsApp number, +27 63 406 9126. I see so many people on our live feed. Let us know where you are listening to us from and where you are streaming us live on that Facebook page. Remember, we are on our live stream on Channel Africa on Facebook and also on Instagram at Channel Africa 1. You can also find us on YouTube. Use that YouTube page at Channel Africa 1 where you'll find the stream. Hey, let's move on and get our sports update.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
A very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibudi Makura with your latest sports news at the Sawa. So we'll start here. Former SuperSport United juniors as well as Zambian under-20 international defender Melimo Nelumango says today's Crunch under-20 Africa Cup of Nations game against South Africa is very special to him. The player grew up in South Africa playing for the Matsatsantsa Abitori Academy, and some of his former teammates are in this Amajita team. Now based in Germany, the 19-year-old centre-back is looking forward to this must-win encounter against his old mates at the June 30 Stadium in Cairo this evening. Kick-off is at 8 p.m. Central African time.
It's definitely going to be interesting playing against a few old friends, and of course South Africa is a really good side. But I think we'll give 100% and we're definitely looking for a win. In South Africa, I grew up in Johannesburg. Yeah, Johannesburg. That's where I grew up. My family, based in South Africa. Yeah, I started playing football there. I played most of my football for SuperSport United.
Now, the last Zambian team to reach the Under-20 FIFA World Cup in 2021 produced goods like Paston Daka Inno Computer Mwepi as well as Fashion Decala. This team didn't just qualify for the World Cup, but they won the Under-20 tournament back on home soil many years ago. So Georgian-based attacker Bonipaneso is now adamant they can also emulate that achievement of the team that went over to the 2021 World Cup.
The coach really had to put everything he could. We trained very well, we prepared despite having a long break, but the team was still in shape.
I think the last time we were at the World Cup, it was the team of Computer, Pets and Dhaka 2017. Can you emulate them?
Yeah. No, they did good, they did their part. Now we have to also do our best.
On to athletics news now. South African sprinter Bayanda Walaza says his experience at the Olympic Games as part of the 4x100 meter relay team has given him confidence ahead of the World Relays Championships in China this weekend. Originally slated to be a reserve, Walaza seized his opportunity with injuries sidelining the likes of Sinasipo Dambile as well as Benjamin Richardson, ultimately helping the team secure a silver medal and making history as South Africa's youngest athlete to earn an Olympic medal. Walaza says he's now determined to play a key role in the team's success when they compete in China this weekend.
I think I've grown from it last year, and also I'll also bring fighting spirit, and also bring trustness. I'll be trustworthy at this time. I won't hesitate. I won't be scared like I was last year, and I'm stronger than what I was last year. And I promise that I'll bring greatness to the team. I'll bring my everything. I bring my A game to this.
Walaza is also humbled by just how much the country now depends on him, second only to team captain Agani Simbini. After serving merely as a reserve last year, his status has now shifted significantly and is now viewed as a key member of the squad.
Surely now it feels much more heavier than last time, because last time I didn't think about it a lot, but now because I know what's going to happen there, it gives me that thing of preparing now before even getting there, and also it gives me motivation of where I am now from last year. Last year being not trusted, but now you are the first person they trust.
And finally, in tennis news, Carlos Alcaraz said he's back to his best for the Italian Open this after suffering injuries last month, while the Spaniard also welcomed back the world number one Yannick Sinner, who is now poised for a comeback on home soil this after serving a doping suspension. Alcaraz withdrew from the Madrid Open just last month after struggling with a hamstring as well as groin injuries that he sustained during the Barcelona Open final, opting to take a break so that he could recover well before his French Open title defense. Alcaraz, who also celebrated his 22nd birthday on Monday, received a bye in the second round in Rome, where he will play Serbia's Dusan Lajovic. Alcaraz is the third seed in Rome, and the Spaniard said he hopes to meet Sinner in the final, with both players on opposite sides of the draw. The Italian has remained world number one despite serving a 3-month ban, as the three-time Grand Slam champion prepares for his first match since the final of the Australian Open in January. That's a wrap from the sports desk at this hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Have you been struggling to find Channel Africa?
Oh yes, where can I find you guys?
Well, you are in luck.
Warning, radioactive zone detected.
Listen to African Perspective on our brand new SABC Plus app. Download the fresh and easy to use app from sabcplus.com or the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Or just command your phone to find SABC Plus on your phone and check out all this good stuff. And that's where you will find Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Oh yes, this is fresh and easy.
All right, it's 9:38 Central African time. Let's move on now to our business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin and Palesa. Good morning. The Guinean government's move to revoke Emirates Global Aluminium's EGA mining license stemmed from the company's failure to fulfill its commitment to construct an alumina refinery. Guinea has launched a process to revoke the EGA license, escalating a dispute that began in October with the suspension of the Emirati company's bauxite exports and mining operations. Joey Lihodi has more.
The move by Guinea, the world's largest bauxite exporter, threatens to further disrupt global aluminium supply chains and signals the resource-rich country's hardening stance toward foreign miners as the junta that seized power in September 2021 pushes for more local processing of minerals. A second source within Guinea's Ministry of Mines says that officials had sent a final reminder letter to EGA regarding its refinery commitments, but the company did not respond.
A $200 million margin call by JP Morgan on Angola's $1 billion loan at the height of the global sell-off of risky assets has exposed the high costs of unorthodox financing heavily indebted African insurers have been turning to. The African Development Bank says the continent's debt has soared to more than $1.8 trillion, leading to 3 sovereign debt defaults in the past 4 years and unconventional financing deals as governments wrestle with high repayments. In East Africa, Kenyan telecoms firm Safaricom has reported full-year earnings before interest and taxes of $807 million, higher than its guidance. In November, the company guided that group EBIT would be between $722 million and $769 million. Safaricom is partly owned by South African Vodacom and British Vodafone. It expanded into Ethiopia in 2022, betting that Africa's second most populous nation would power future growth. But despite strong customer growth, Safaricom has had a bumpy ride so far in Ethiopia due to security, inflation, and currency challenges. Nigeria has repaid $3.4 billion in emergency funding it received from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, to help the country cope with the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic 5 years ago. In April 2020, the IMF provided the financing to help Africa's largest oil exporter cope with a collapse in crude prices, which hit its finances and tipped the economy into recession. The most recent data from the Debt Management Office shows that Nigeria last year spent $4.66 billion to service its foreign debt, of which $1.63 billion was to the IMF. Scores of Community Workers Program CPW employees marched to South Africa's Northwest Provincial Government offices in Mahikeng yesterday. They submitted a memorandum that raises their displeasure regarding termination of contracts for participants, lack of proper PPE, the decision to not increase stipends for employees, amongst others. They also want full-time employment for CWP workers. Provincial organizer of Manda Ashu Workers Union of South Africa, Mawusa, in the province is Tabiso Sitsokelo. He elaborates.
We don't have PPE. We didn't receive any relevant training. They promised that everyone that leaves this program will have gained skills to improve their lives, but nothing has been done. There's a budget that comes out every year. We want to know where does the budget go. So, as comrades here, today we have a lot of serious concerns, such as new circulars coming in every month. As Mawusa, we say no one will leave CWP.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 608, in Botswana 13 pula 46, in Kenya the dollar is at 128 shilling 345, in Zambia 26 kwacha 75. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 70, Russia 81 rubles 83, India 85 rupee 35, China 71 23, South Africa $1 is at 18 rand 20, $1 is 75 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Gold is at $3,313, platinum at $982 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil $63.20 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chandruko Ligege.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Zochitika ndi madapiri kamlondola wa zochitika pena paliponse.
Aphungu a nyumba ya malamulo mu dziko la Malawi akuchita zokambirana zawo pa zinthu zosiyanasiyana pambuyo pa nyumbayi kutsegulidwa masiku apitawo, ndipo kondani Nyamasa ukali nafe pompano chiyambireni aphungu akukambirana masiku apitawo ndi zovuta ziti zomwe zachitika mu nyumba imeneyi ya malamulo.
Ndingathe kunena kuti State of National Address imene a President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera akhala kuipereka mu nyumba ya malamulo imeneyi idautsa mpungwepungwe kwambiri nyumbayi, chifukwa pofika panopa mene ndikuyankhula pano ndiye kuti munafuna kubuka ndewu mnyumbayi. Leader of the house olemekezeka Richard Kimwendo Banda kuyimirira kuyankha koma mopsa mtima zimene amayankhula phungu oyimira ku Blantyre City South East Pasama Suleiman kunena kuti sona imene adapeka president pa 14 February ikuonetsa kuti palibe chilichonse cha zero chimene chidaperekedwa mu sona imeneyi, akuti imene ayichotse.
Zochitika ndi madapiri lolemba mpaka lachisanu pa nthawi ya 7 koloko kufikira 8 koloko madzulo pa Channel Africa.
Bonjour à tous. Nous aimerions entendre votre voix sur notre station de radio. Faites-nous plaisir et envoyez un petit mot ou un message de salutation à vos proches ou à vos présentateurs préférés de Channel Africa. Que vous soyez en Afrique, dans la diaspora ou n'importe où ailleurs dans le monde, nous voulons vous entendre. Envoyez vos messages de dédicace par email à info@channelafrica.co.za ou postez sur notre page Facebook, Twitter et Instagram avec le hashtag dédicace. Vous pouvez aussi nous faire une note vocale sur notre WhatsApp +27 66 408 87 42.
Start your day right with Channel Africa Breakfast.
That smells delicious.
Live, 5 days a week. The conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture.
This is Kutu with Melody. Beautiful throwback there and beautiful music from the African continent.
Beautiful one. Definitely that one taking us back in a jazzy way on a Friday, entertaining way in right here where you are. Wherever you're listening to us, let us know. Remember, we are on WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126. What do you think of that story? Do you think it matters, the size of the map? Does size matter?
You know, size absolutely matters.
Yeah.
I think size certainly does matter because there must be reasons why it was mapped out that way. And to think that if there's so many things that were done historically or put in place, we've had, technology change various things. If we were to say it doesn't matter, we still have been, using a horse and carriage as transportation on our roads. If it didn't matter, we still should have, been using old systems in various industries. But if everything else can change, why can't this?
I think it's important when it comes to the psychology of things and the way that we also see ourselves. As Africans, we tend to think like we're the smallest part of the continent. I think we do tend to have that psychological thing that we are the afterthought, that we are the, one that is always extending the begging bowl. And we forget that we are fully resourced and also we have so much territory in the world. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think about that one? Do you think the map should change? But also, do you think we as Africans generally should use the new map, should use the change map, should use the, geographically or a size, accurate map for ourselves? So even before we wait for anybody else to change it, for, everyone around the world to use it, how do you think we should change our own perception of who we are? Would you do it? Go ahead and sign the petition. I just did. I went on there and signed the petition. I think this is important and it's something that I would definitely stand for. And if you would, let us know as well on +27 63 406 9126. Join our live stream on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on YouTube. Make the Channel Africa circle bigger. We love to chat with you. About to wrap up this hour of the show and going into a very interesting one in the next hour. Just yesterday we were speaking about teenagers and parenting teenagers. But here we're talking about, African teenagers who are authors. We'll be going into the Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative. That's an exciting one coming up in the second hour. For now, let's go back to more music. It's a FriYay after all.
Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform, it's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for
the barefooted songstress Caesarea Evora. That is the Cape Verdean giving us Bo Edimu Krechu. That takes us to 58 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. This is On the Move with myself, Benjamin Mushatama, and Palesa. We always have fun on a Friday, take things a little bit easier. Thank you for joining us, everyone, on DSTV channel 802, OpenView 628. And remember, anywhere in the world you can find us on the SABC Plus app, or you can find us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za. I want to alert you, right, that the best way to actually listen to us, if you can, especially during interviews, is through our live stream. What happens with our live stream, I don't think we've spoken about this. You can actually even see the guests that we actually interview. So we put them on that live stream and you can actually see them. I think we use sometimes we use WhatsApp, sometimes we use Zoom. So you can actually see that other person as we interview them. So that's one of the benefits of actually listening to us via those live streams. You can actually see the guests. Hey, technology, right? And you think we're in radio, but now it feels like we're on TV. So many things to do with our new technologies today. So do enjoy that live stream. It's all for you. Remember, you can find it on our Facebook page. Let's make the circle bigger there. You can follow us on our Facebook page, simply titled Channel Africa. And also, we're also on YouTube. Follow our YouTube page as well. It's at Channel Africa 1. At Channel Africa 1, it's the numeric 1 at the end of the phrase Channel Africa. So you just add the number 1 there at the end. Well, let's move into our second hour of the show. And starting us off is the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, the first group of white South Africans to make their way to the U.S. and newly elected Pope to hold a mass for cardinals this morning. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. The U.S. is reported to be working on taking the first group of white South Africans it has classified as refugees from as early as next week. President Donald Trump's administration is reported to be planning to send officials to the Washington Dulles International Airport in Virginia for an event to mark the arrival of the South Africans. In February, Trump issued an executive order that called for the U.S. to resettle Afrikaner refugees, describing them as victims of racial discrimination. South Africa's International Relations Department has described the executive order as inaccurate. The U.S. Health and Human Services and the White House are yet to confirm the report. The U.S. has announced that it is cutting $50 million in aid to Zambia's health sector due to the country's failure to address the systematic theft of donated drugs and medical supplies. The decision was taken after repeated warnings to the Zambian government to safeguard vital drugs meant for the country's most vulnerable patients. Zambia's Health Minister Elijah Muchina thanked the U.S. for its generous support, while saying that the problem of theft predated the current government, which took office in 2021. The U.S. cuts are separate to the sweeping foreign aid freezes announced by President Donald Trump in January. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has fired the Librarian of the Congress, Carla Hayden, who was the first woman and first African American in the role, headed an office that has overall management responsibility for the library and set out policy on its programs and activities. Democratic President Barack Obama appointed her in 2016 for a 10-year term in the role that needed Senate confirmation. The top Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, has described the move as unjust. Namibian President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah is on a first-ever foreign visit, travelling to Angola on a 2-day official visit. The visit is meant to strengthen bilateral and trade ties between the two countries. The visit marks the first official engagement between Nandi-Ndaitwah and Angolan President João Lourenço. African political analyst Faustin Hendricks explains.
According to Angolan sources, this visit came by an invitation of President João Lourenço to his the head state of Namibia, and I think that is a very, very important sign, because Angola and Namibia share a historic relationship. In Namibia and in Angola are in power both political parties that came with the independence of each country, so they share good relations. They share historic ties, and we hope both countries can strengthen not just the political relationship, but especially engage the private sector.
Lastly, the newly elected Pope is preparing to hold a mass for cardinals at the Vatican this morning. Robert Prevost is the first U.S.-born leader of the Catholic Church. Prevost is also a citizen of Peru and is chosen to be known as Leo XIV. The BBC's Sarah Rainford.
He'll be saying Mass in the Sistine Chapel, so the same chapel where he and 132 others voted for a new pope, and where he was then actually declared the new pope. So those elector cardinals and the rest of the body of cardinals will gather for that Mass beneath the frescoes of Michelangelo, of course. Then on Sunday, the next sort of big moment will be when the new pope appears on the balcony here in the Vatican to address what we expect to be a pretty big crowd for the first Sunday Mass since he has been elected as Pope.
Now, recapping on your top stories, the U.S. is reported to be working on taking the first group of white South Africans it has classified as refugees from as early as next week. In February, the Trump administration issued an executive order that called for the U.S. to resettle Afrikaner refugees, describing them as victims of racial discrimination. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster.
On the move right here on Channel Africa. Thank you so much, Channel Africa family, for being a part of this incredible platform where we focus on the African perspective. And of course, let's continue making the Channel Africa circle bigger. Tune in on www.channelafrica.co.za. Find us on our audio bouquets as well. That's DSTV channel 802 and OpenView HD channel 628. And of course, another great way to tune into Channel Africa is via the SABC Plus app. You can download that app on your app store, and of course you can tune into Channel Africa under the radio section. You know, we think about teenagers in such a one-dimensional way, but what if we think about them in a way where we can actually hear their views, see what they think, and read their books? Yes, from cities to rural communities, teens across the continent are capturing the heartbeat of Africa through fiction, poetry, and personal essays, but they're not always visible. We're speaking about the Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative in this hour of the show, and it's calling on teenagers across the continent aged 13 to 19 to share their stories under the theme One Africa, Many Voices. So we'll be unpacking this with Nomawele Njongo, who's an author and founder of Kwazitina Publishers, who'll be chatting to us about this Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative. Very exciting stuff in this hour of the show. Well, we don't leave you on a Friday without a little bit of music and spotlighting a different author from a different musician from the African continent. And today we speak to Maseru-based Lesotho hip-hop artist who goes by the name of Zulu Mofokeng, popularly known as J Cobb, who's going to be chatting to us about their music, their hip-hop, and of course taking us through their journey of music in the next hour. So of course, a lot to do, a lot to talk about, and a lot of ways to engage here on the Move. Stay with us and go through to our social media platforms.
Hey, of course, our media platforms are very helpful. You never miss out here on Channel Africa. We always make sure that you can catch up with our different shows. So definitely go to www.channelafrica.co.za to do some of that catching up. All you have to do is, go to our podcast section. You'll find programs there, and right there on our landing page, click on programs and we'll take you to our podcasts right here on Channel Africa. Don't be shy. Remember, even when you get on our live stream, let us know where you are listening to us from. We want to know where on the continent you are from. Well, it's 8 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time, and I want to get your thoughts around the map, the issue of the African continent, how it looks on that particular map. What do you think about that? Do you think it is something that we should see redesigned, redone? Do you think we should have that accuracy when it comes to how big the continent is compared to other continents are in the world? You know, we're bigger than the Americas. Do you know that we're bigger than some parts of Asia? No, you wouldn't have known because we look very small on the more exposed map that we have. That's the conversation that we've been having today. What's your take on that one? Remember, you can also WhatsApp us on +27 63 406 9126, or let us know on our live stream what you think about that. You're listening to On The Move. You with myself, Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa. Do stay with us.
Parlez-vous couramment le français?
Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future.
10 minutes past 10 Central Africa time. This is On The Move with myself, Palesa Tau, and Benjamin Mushatama. You know, yesterday we had a conversation about raising teenagers, and these are a group of some of the most misunderstood people since time memorial, because no matter what time it is, or, you know, historically or in modern times, teenagers will always try to be different. Teenagers may be rebellious, teenagers are learning. Teenagers are trying to transition from being children into adulthood, and that can make them so misunderstood into a group of people that is sidelined. And over and above that, teenagers are seen to not really want to participate in anything educational or give back to the world in any kind of way. However, things are changing, and from cities to rural communities, teenagers across the continent are capturing the heartbeat of Africa through fiction, poetry, personal essays, but they're not always visible, and that's where the issue is, isn't it? But we're looking at this great initiative called the Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative, and it's calling on teenagers across the African continent to share their stories under the theme One Africa, Many Voices. It's not just a competition, it's a celebration of youth, it's a celebration of creativity and the rich diversity of African experiences all across the continent. We're unpacking this initiative and what it means for the continent's future storytellers and how you or someone you know can take part in this inspiring initiative. Joining us on the line is Nomawele Njongo, author and founder of Kwazitina Publishers. Thank you so much, Nomawele, for joining us. Good morning.
Morning, Palesa and Benjamin, and morning to the listeners at home.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm glad that you're having this initiative because it seems like every time we think about teenagers, we don't really think about them in positive light. And we know there's so many social ills out there where teenagers are so susceptible to these ills of the world, right?
Yes, I was inspired by my two sons who were teenagers. They were aged 13 and 15 to develop a teen writing program. They wrote their books in 2020 during the pandemic.
That's incredible.
So the inspiration comes from there.
Well, let's unpack a little bit more of that inspiration. I like that you started there. Because when it was the pandemic, not only the children, but many of us didn't really know how to spend our time. But I'm sure you were also, as a parent, seeing the kids outside who don't really have, a certain way of, taking out their creativity, don't have any extramural activities. And there's so many ways now that we see young kids, smoking, drinking, being part of violent crimes, and just not really participating in the community sense and not participating in a positive way. Is that why you wanted your children to sort of pour their energy into this very positive thing, which is reading and writing?
My inspiration for me to inspire them, it was like, I remembered that when you are old, when you are an adult, there are moments where you no longer believe in yourself. So if you have if you have done a lot of positive things during your teen years, they are able to inspire you. They are able to make you remember your strength. So that was my inspiration. Mm-hmm. That's why that I asked my children to write. And then from their inspiration, they also inspired me now to develop a publishing house and also this writing program, because the publishing house called Kwazitina, it's named after my children's names, Kwazi and Tina.
That's beautiful.
So they inspired me to develop Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative. It was in December 2020. And I was in this place that you see me staying where the inspiration came. I'm in Lusikisiki in the village. I work from home in Ezlalin. That's where I work. That's where my inspiration came from. So even now that I'm talking to you, I'm based in the same place where I started to see this vision, and this vision that became that manifested. Mm-hmm. So it was 2020. I saw an Africa that write and read its own stories. Hence, our slogan is "Let Africa Tell Her Stories." So I was able to share this vision to certain people, and they joined me as form of adjudicators. I had adjudicator like Faith Ben Daniel from all the way from Ghana, who's still part of us from 2020 until now, and she's now the editor of the project. Let me show you. In 2020, we had in 2020 December, we envisioned a theme that the African teens in the COVID-19 era, because we're COVID-19. So now we wanted to see the diversity of the stories. So we invited teenagers, surprisingly, in 2021, because we launched the project in 2021, February 1. And surprisingly, we had about 60 teens from 5 countries who entered the program. And we had adjudicators from South Africa, about 5 of them from South Africa, 1 from Ghana at the time. And then the adjudication took place, and this is the book that was written by teenagers.
That's
coming
wonderful.
from, it's called African Teen Soul.
It's wonderful. You know, what you're doing is fantastic. And I love how brave you are. We're just speaking, I was just telling Palesa, like, you know, people are able just to have that bravery and start things and beautiful things that, you know, actually are good for the African continent. I'm seeing the book on our live stream and it looks like a fantastic book. I once actually did a teen writing competition. It was actually a poetry competition and it did a lot for me. That's how I finally got the kind of angst or energy or positive kind of feeling inside of me that, okay, I can be a journalist one day. I can actually write. Actually, when I was published in different publications as a teenager. And that's what it does, doesn't it? It motivates these young kids to actually follow their paths, but also it builds that inner confidence that they need for the future.
Absolutely. I just want to unpack it. The following year, we had about this. The theme for the year 2022 was the social media impact on teenagers, and we had teenagers from 11 countries participated. So we had our second series called the African Teen Soul on social media impact, because we are doing it in series.
Okay.
This is the second series. So I just want to break it down. Like from 2021 until 2024, we have about 329 teens participated from 31 countries. And the same initiative also inspired another formation called SGELA, SA Learners Book Initiative, which we piloted in one of the rural schools here at home called Doli Senior Secondary School. As I'm talking to you, there's a book written by the learners from that school.
That's fantastic. I mean, what do you think it does for these young kids when you look at, you know, them becoming published authors? What do you think it does with them in terms of their confidence?
It's boosts their confidence. And it's also make them critical thinkers. And now also through this initiative, they are able now to form relations with other teenagers across the African continent. Now it opens their eyes. They start now not to limit themselves.
And that's so beautiful because... apologies there. I'm saying that's so beautiful because a lot of the times, especially with the communities that young children on the African continent grow in, it's so easy to not really see yourself as someone who's going to be great. It's so easy for children to minimize themselves and not see themselves as future leaders or with the future at all from the spaces that they grow up in and the people that they see around them. So how much have you seen the changes in these young people, those who you've been able to interact with through this book series?
I see a lot of changes. Some of my teens from 2021 that were from Zimbabwe, they've grown now. They're at university. They're now in the US.
Oh, wow.
So we have teenagers who started with us, who were in high school, but now they are at university. And we also have some sessions sometimes where we speak about leadership development. We call our teens that entered the program Adabi alumni. So we have our own community that we build with the teens so that they motivate and learn from each other. So we've got teens in high schools, we've got teens now in universities, we've got teens also who has just finished university. Because now those who started in 2021. Now they are now adults. So others, they are learning from others. There are others who are still very young. They are learning from each other. We also, after publishing, we also have some writing sessions where we have creative writing, and we also speak about general things. Others, they also come in their individual initiative. We also have teenagers who have started Adabi in their own countries, like in Cameroon. we also have our chapter now in Cameroon being led by one of our teenagers who have entered the program. And he already introduced Adabi in the country, registered in the creatives of that country. So we've got Adabi Cameroon chapter, and we also have Adabi South Sudan chapter. So we are also encouraging them to take this to their own country, because our aim is to make an Africa that writes and reads its own stories. Hence our slogans, let Africa tell her stories. We want to build a united Africa. These children to grow together, to have love for one another. Unlike us, we grew up not being related with other with other Africans from other countries. Now, for when they're growing with that love for one another, we are going to be able now to build a better Africa.
Nomawele, let's take a bit of a break. I want to actually go back to talking about you and less about this initiative, because as Africans, I think sometimes we wait for someone else to do something. We're always on the peripheries waiting to be rescued. And I'm wondering what prompted you to be the change maker in the African context, because from your own village in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, right at the bottom of the continent, you said, you know what, I want to start something and I want to create an influence. And I'm sure when you started it, you didn't think it would have this huge impact. And I want us to talk a little bit about yourself. So you tell us a little bit about how you went about this. And when you reflect back at actually making that difference, that mark, and saying, you know what, I want to do something, I want to create impact. And watching that impact unfold, how was it for you? Because at times we just sit on the sidelines and we don't think that we've got the power, the agency as Africans to make that difference. And I think that's powerful that you were able to do that. But we'll speak about that after the break.
Okay, thank you.
Got something for brands, media planning, and advertisers. Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving...
23 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. You are listening to Channel Africa, giving you news, information, and entertainment from that African perspective. I see Moses Makungwa is right there on our live stream. Thank you for joining us there. Aaron Chipeta, you there as well. Thank you for joining us on that live stream. Come, if you want to see our guest, Nomawele Njongo, author and founder of Kwazitina Publishers, she's right there on our live feed. You can see her as she joins us live as well there from her office wherever she's stationed in the Eastern Cape. And Nomawele is an initiator of a wonderful initiative, the Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative, which calls on teens to share their stories under multiple themes. It seems like it's been going over for a few years now. And this year, she's calling on teens to write stories under the theme of One Africa and Many Voices. Before we go back to that theme, I think it's interesting when we have ideas as Africans, we don't think they can have actually a huge impact, especially simple ideas. And actually, simple ideas are the ones that we need on the African continent, because they actually break some of the noise around us and enable us to actually start. From your perspective, I want to know, I mean, during COVID, people were like, okay, they were starting all these different things, but there was a huge obstacle on how to start, on who's going to help me. How did you go about taking this idea, and what made you believe in this idea and that it's going to work?
To tell you the truth, I think I've been, before that, I wrote a book called Abortion by the Womb of Democracy. That is the fire starter. That's about my life story in 2021. Then in 2019, I mean to say. Then in 2020, I decided to write my second editions and then ask my children to write. Then from there, around December, me to publish for them. At the time, I didn't see myself as a publisher. I remember saying, oh, I'm a publisher. The moment people started approaching me, and also I started to see in Africa, I started to see an African map. I started to see my company in the continent making an impact in the continent. And I started calling people and saying, let Africa tell her story. Like at the time, my words were just, but I had that thing because I was seeing something through my eyes and I believed in what I saw.
Sure.
And if I can tell you, I opened files for each and every African continent at the time. And even the logo of KwaZitina was designed by someone I don't know who's based in Nigeria. So in this project, there's a plenty of people from various African countries who have contributed to adjudication, including Professor P.L.O. Lumumba wrote a foreword in the second series.
Wow.
You don't know what I did. I wrote to him. I remember one day and I tried to reach out and I wrote an email and then I introduced the project. And surprisingly, he responded like the following day and said, congratulations for the work you have undertaken.
Wow.
So like everyone, when I'm sharing this vision in Africa, they believe me more than my people from my home. I find a lot of people from other countries, they just understand this vision. When I speak to them, they just understand it and try to support it. But at home, I feel like there's something that's lacking. Instead of taking this, like South Africa, we are seen as people who are xenophobic. And yet we know that we're not xenophobic. We carry a spirit of Ubuntu. So now if you can support this project, and we're the one as South African championing something, an initiative that is raising, that is nurturing the future generations of Africa. We are able now to rebrand ourselves as a country. And through this project, we are rebranding us as a continent that now we are redefining ourselves as an African continent and showing the world that we can do things and tell our own authentic stories to the world and not let the world to tell our own stories, but be the one that tells our own stories and nurturing our own people.
That's so fantastic. And I love, the more you speak, it's more inspiring just listening to you and especially asserting the fact that, we can all make contributions in our different countries and work together in an integrated way. But even where, like a country like South Africa, we can also be a pioneering country and work in a way that, really focuses the continent and, creates that agenda, because that's where the NAPED ideas came from. That's where the transformation of the African Union started, was right here in South Africa under the auspices of former President Thabo Mbeki. As we wrap it up this year, you've got a new theme, One Africa, Many Voices. Tell us a little bit about that particular theme and how people or young kids from different parts of the continent can participate.
Okay, this theme, by the way, was curated by the teenagers themselves who were the previous participants. Last year we had the Africa We Want. This year is One Africa, Many Voices. It was not I'm not the one who curated it. It's the teenagers themselves participating through our group because we just wanted the suggestions from them. So One Africa, the theme is One Africa, Many Voices, and we're looking for about 1,500 words limit. And if you want to enter, go to we can go to our Facebook page to get the guideline, or you can go to our website, KwaZitina Publishers, under the blogger. You'll see the competition. You can submit there online, or you can send us an email to info@kwazitina.co.za. You can even go to Noma Welenjongo in Facebook. I can guide you. I can send you how to the program. We also have the page in Facebook, Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative. We also have KwaZitina Publishers on Facebook, also on Instagram. So if you need some help, you.
All right.
But the deadline for now is on the 31 of May,
Okay.
the deadline. So after the deadline, we'll have the adjudication taking place, and then from there, the editing will take place, and then the series number 5 will be now published in September.
Fantastic. And that is Kwazitina Publishers. It's spelled Kwazitihina. Check them out online. Thank you so much, Noma Wele. Very inspiring conversation with you, and keep doing the fantastic work.
Thanks, Benjamin and Palesa, and the viewers, and also all our followers. We thank you.
Well, that's Nomawele Njongo, author and founder of Kwazitina Publishers, and speaking about the Africa Teen Authors Book Initiative. Hey, the deadline is right around the corner, so participate if you're a young person listening to Channel Africa. If you know, you've got a little bit of writing skills and you want to write about the continent, do so. Well, it's 10:31 Central African time. What an inspiring story, but it takes us to our to our sports update for now. Musibudi Makura is standing by.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin, and good morning once again from the sports desk. Now, defending champions Senegal kept their title defence alive, thus following a hard-fought 2-0 victory over the DR Congo in their final Group C match at the Total Energies CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Suez on Thursday. So Ghana's 1-0 victory over the Central African Republic and another game played at the same time meant that only a win would suffice for Senegal, who came into that match with just 1 point from their opening 2 games. The result means Senegal finished second in Group C on 4 points, behind leaders Ghana on 7, and will face Group D winners Senegal in the quarterfinals of this coming tournament. It was also a spirited display from the Congolese side, who had impressed earlier in the group stages with a win over the Central African Republic and a draw against Ghana, but their failure to keep a clean sheet throughout the tournament proved costly for the team. Now, former SuperSport United juniors as well as Zambian Under-20 international Milimo Nelumango says today's Crunch Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations game against South Africa is special to him. Now, the player grew up right here in South Africa playing for Matsatsantsa Apitori's academy, and some of his former teammates are in this Amajita team. Now, based in Germany, the 19-year-old centre-back is looking forward to this must-win encounter against his old mates at the 30 June Stadium in Cairo this evening, kick-off at 8 p.m. Central African time.
It's definitely going to be interesting playing against a few old friends, and of course South Africa is a really good side. But I think we'll give 100% and we're definitely looking for a win. In South Africa, I grew up in Johannesburg. Yeah, Johannesburg. That's where I grew up. My family, based in South Africa. Yeah, I started playing football there. I played most of my football for SuperSport United.
Right, so this year's tournament is also used as a qualifier for the World Cup at the Under-20 level later on this year. Now, the last Zambian team to reach the Under-20 FIFA World Cup was back in 2021, produced good players like Paston Daka, Enoch Mebu, as well as Fashion Sakala. Now, this team didn't just qualify for the World Cup, they also won the AFCON Under-20 on home soil in 2020. Georgian-based attacker Bonipeso Piri is adamant that they can emulate that achievement from the team in 2021.
The coach really had to put everything he could. We trained very well, we prepared despite having a long break, but the team was still in shape.
I think the last time you were at the World Cup, it was the team of Computer, Pets and Dhaka in 2017. Can you emulate them?
Yeah. No, they did good, they did their part. Now we have to also do our best.
Right, so something to look forward to this weekend is the World Relays Championships taking place in China, and South African sprinter Bayanda Walaza says his experience at the Olympic Games as part of the 4x100 meter relay team has given him the confidence ahead of the World Relays in China this weekend. Originally slated to be a reserve, Walaza seized his opportunity with injuries sidelining Sinosipo Dambile as well as Benjamin Richardson, ultimately helping the team secure a silver medal and also making history as the South African youngest athlete to ever earn an Olympic medal. Palesa says he's now determined to play a key role in the team's success when they compete in China this weekend.
I think I've grown from the last year, and also I'll also bring fighting spirit, and also bring trustness. I'll be trustworthy at this time. I won't hesitate. I won't be scared like I was last year, and I'm stronger than what I was last year. And I promise that I'll bring greatness to the team. I'll bring my everything. I bring my A game to this.
Palesa is also humbled by just how much the country now depends on him, second only to team captain Akani Simbeni. This after serving merely as a reserve last year, his status has now shifted significantly and is viewed as a key member of this SA relay team.
Truly now it feels much more heavier than last time, because last time I didn't think about it a lot, but now because of I know what's going to happen there, it gives me that thing of preparing now before even getting there, and also it gives me motivation of where I am now from last year. Last year being not trusted, but now you are the first person they trust.
And that note is a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. I do return for a final sports update in the next hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, don't forget to send us an email. That's to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Bonjour à tous. Nous aimerions entendre votre voix sur notre station de radio. Faites-nous plaisir et envoyez un petit mot ou un message de salutation à vos proches ou à vos présentateurs préférés de Channel Africa. Que vous soyez en Afrique, dans la diaspora ou n'importe où ailleurs dans le monde, nous voulons vous entendre. Envoyez vos messages de dédicace par email à info@channelafrica.co.za ou postez sur notre page Facebook, Twitter et Instagram avec le hashtag dédicace. Vous pouvez aussi nous faire une note vocale sur notre WhatsApp +27 66 408 87 42.
Thank you so much, Musibudi, for that sports update. Let's bring back Chanduko Ligege for our latest in business.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning. The Guinean government's move to revoke Emirates Global Aluminium's EGA mining license stemmed from the company's failure to fulfill its commitment to construct an alumina refinery. Guinea has launched a process to revoke the EGA license, escalating a dispute that began in October with the suspension of the Emirati company's bauxite exports and mining operations. Joey Hodi has more.
The move by Guinea, the world's largest bauxite exporter, threatens to further disrupt global aluminium supply chains and signals the resource-rich country's hardening stance toward foreign miners as the junta that seized power in September 2021 pushes for more local processing of minerals. A second source within Guinea's Ministry of Mines says that officials had sent a final reminder letter to EGA regarding its refinery commitments, but the company did not respond.
Rwanda's Finance Minister Yusuf Murangwa says the economy is forecast to grow at a slower pace this year than in 2024, while government spending for the 2025-26 fiscal year is expected to rise by about a fifth. Murangwa says the economy is projected to expand 7.1% this year and jump to 7.5% in 2026. According to Rwanda Statistics Office, the country's economy is expected to grow 7.4% in 2027 and 7.0% a year later. The economy grew 8.9% in 2024. A $200 million margin called by JP Morgan on Angola's $1 billion loan at the height of the global sell-off of risky assets has exposed the high costs of unorthodox financing heavily indebted African insurers have been turning to. issuers have been turning to. The African Development Bank says the continent's debt has soared to more than $1.8 trillion, leading to 3 sovereign debt defaults in the past 4 years and unconventional financing deals as governments wrestle with high repayments. Kenyan telecoms firm Safaricom has reported full-year earnings before interest and taxes of $807 million, higher than its guidance. In November, the company guided that Group EBIT would be between $722 million and $769 million. Safaricom is partly owned by South Africa's Vodacom and Britain's Vodafone. It expanded into Ethiopia in 2022, betting that Africa's second most populous nation would power future growth. But despite strong customer growth, Safaricom has had a bumpy ride so far in Ethiopia due to security, inflation, and currency challenges. Scores of Community Works Program CPW employees marched to South Africa's Northwest Provincial Government offices in Mahikeng yesterday. They submitted a memorandum that raises their displeasure regarding termination of contracts for participants, lack of proper PPE, and the decision to not increase stipends for employees, amongst others. They also want full-time employment for CWP workers. Provincial organizer of Manda Ashu Workers Union of South Africa, Mawusa, in the province, is Tabiso Siutsukelo.
We don't have PPE. We didn't receive any relevant training. They promise that everyone that leaves this program will have gained skills to improve their lives, but nothing has been done. There's a budget that comes out every year. We want to know where does the budget go. So, as comrades here, today we have a lot of serious concerns, such as new circulars coming in every month. As Mawusa, we say no one will leave CWP.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 608. In Botswana, 13 pula 46. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 345. Zambia, 26 kwacha 75. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is at 5 real 70. Russia, 81 rubles 83. India, 85 rupee 35. China, 71 23. South Africa, 18 rand 20. $1 is at 75 pence to the British pound, 88 to the euro. Commodities: gold is at $3,325, platinum at $987 per ounce, the price of Brent crude oil at $63.37 a barrel. That is all for now. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligege.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa.
Okay.
Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
The rhythm of Africa. The pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African Perspective. The piece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media plan.
Cups that is small, and DJ Mapori said, so that's one's titled Asibehe, and you heard All in You before that. You are listening to Channel Africa. It's time for us to get a little bit competitive in studio. I know that Balu is pretty competitive. She takes us serious. We on 1-1 now, ne?
Yeah, 1 each.
We on 1 each, ne?
But last month, I know we're on 2-1 because last month I won.
Okay, we're on 2-1.
Yeah, we're on 2-1.
Okay.
So last month I won our Friday music quiz.
Okay, cool. So we start afresh.
We start afresh. It's a new month.
Okay.
We have 4 weeks, and we'll see who takes it at the end of the month.
All right, today our theme is hip-hop for our African quiz. Hey, hip-hop, are you good with that?
Not really, but I mean, so far we've never really been confident about any of the quizzes that we've went in.
Last week we did pretty well.
Last week we did do quite well.
Even if
Sometimes
we were not
guess.
confident about it. Yeah.
Sometimes we guess, and I think there's a lot of guessing that's going to happen this week.
Okay.
So yeah, let's see.
All right, you start. Let's see where we take this one.
Okay, so it's time for our quiz. Hopefully you are tuned in and, let us know who you're rooting for in this particular quiz today. It's 10:55 Central Africa time. Participate on the quiz on our social media platforms. We are live on Facebook. Find us on Facebook. We are simply Channel Africa there. On Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, we are at Channel Africa 1 as well as on X. And let us know who you're rooting for. Also, if you have a genre that you would like to suggest, a music genre that you'd like to suggest for Africa, of course, that we can take part in the next quiz or throughout this month's quiz, then certainly we'll take on your genre and see who knows more music knowledge between Benjamin and I.
All right, our effects, let's see, are they ready, producer? Okay, our effects are not ready. Let's sort out our win and lose effects, and then we'll come back to the quiz after this short break.
And advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging
Black jersey on the beat. Baby, me tired for this show, man.
Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece.
We're ready for this quiz right now. That's Tiwa Savage with one titled Attention. Okay, you go. It's your turn to start today.
All right, let's go.
Our Africa quiz, and we usually look at music.
Yeah.
And today, our theme is
African hip-hop.
Okay.
All right, question 1. Which country is home to the iconic hip-hop group Kalam Shaka? A, Nigeria. B, Kenya. C, South Africa. D, Ghana.
Yeah. What's the name of the band?
Kalam Shaka.
Sounds very Ghanaian.
Okay, is that your answer?
No, I'll go with Nigeria.
Okay, Nigeria. Is that right or wrong? Wrong. The right answer is Kenya.
Okay.
Question 2. What's the real name of South African rapper AKA who was tragically killed in 2023? Is it Keenan Forbes? Is it Keenan Jordan? Is it Kenneth Mukwena or Kabelo Ngobo?
What? I don't even know this one.
Is it Keenan Forbes, Keenan Jordan, Kenneth Mukwena or Kabelo Ngobo?
I'll just go with number 1.
Keenan Forbes.
Is it?
That is correct.
Oh.
AKA's real name is Keenan Forbes. Number 3, which Nigerian rapper is known for popularizing indigenous language rap with hits like Ehen and Gongo Aso? Is it A, Mia Baga? Is it Falz? Is it Dagrin? Is it Ice Prince?
Don't know any of those guys.
Yeah, but which one is it?
Is it
Mia Baga, Falz, Dagrin, or Ice Prince?
I'll go with the first one.
Mia Baga? Wrong. It is C, Dagrin. So far 1 out of 3. Question 4. Which hip-hop artist won Best International Flow at the BET Hip Hop Awards in 2019? Is it Nasty C? Is it Sarkodie? Is it Shaw Majosi? Or Casper Nyovest?
I'll go with Nasty C.
This is wrong. It's Sarkodie.
Okay.
Oh, goodness. Okay, last question. What language does Tanzanian rapper Rosary often rap in, blending it with English? Is it Amharic? Is it Luganda? Is it Swahili or Hausa?
Where is he from?
Tanzania.
Is it what?
Amharic, Luganda, Swahili or Hausa? Tanzania.
I don't know. I'll go with Swahili.
Swahili?
Is it?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, 2 out of 5.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Because I suck at hip hop.
Yeah, no, me too. So
Okay.
let's keep going.
All right, we'll continue later. So far, I've got 2 out of 5, so we'll take a bit of a break on that one, and then later we'll see how Pali does on that quiz. We're moving into the final hour of the show. Who do you think is going to take this one? Let us know. Do you think Pali is going to take this one? I think Pali is going to take this one. I think hip hop is not as bad as mine. So let us know on our WhatsApp number +2 763469126. We're moving into our final morning bulletin. Let's find out what Onel Nsinsi has for us.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, Gabon leader names new cabinet in Russia's 80th anniversary of victory over Nazi Germany. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Gabon's leader, Brice Oligui Nguema, has named a new cabinet after his landslide victory in a presidential election in April. President Nguema, inaugurated over the weekend, has said he will boost agriculture, industry and tourism in the oil-dependent economy and fight corruption. Prior to his election win, Nguema seized power in 2023 from the Bongo family that had ruled the Central African nation for over 50 years. The World Health Organization says Sierra Leone has accounted for half of Africa's confirmed Mpox cases this week, adding that the West African country is fueling the outbreak. The UN health body, which first declared the emergency in August last year, says Mpox remains a public health emergency due to the continuing rise in the number of cases and the geographic spread of the outbreak. The Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention said Sierra Leone reported 384 confirmed cases in a week, representing 50.7% on all the continent's cases. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has fired the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, who was the first woman and first African American in the role, headed an office that has overall management responsibility for the library and sets up policy on its programs and activities. Democratic President Barack Obama appointed her in 2016 for a tenure term in the role that needed Senate confirmation. The top Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, describes the move as unjust. The Southern African Catholic Bishops' Conference says the appointment of Cardinal Robert Prevost as the 267th Pope is interesting. Prevost, who was elected yesterday, has taken the name Pope Leo XIV. He is the first American to hold the position. The SACBC says it is significant that he took the name Pope Leo as he shares some values with Pope Leo XIII. The SACBC Secretary General, Father Hugh Conner, says Pope Leo's leadership style is different from that of his predecessor, Pope Francis.
Pope Leo XIII is especially remembered for two things. Firstly, for his awareness and his ability to read the signs of the times. He is also known as the Pope of the Rosary, and he raised the Basilica of Pompeii. So I think there is a recognition in his election that he has the skill to be a man who reads the signs of the times, but also a man deeply rooted in Catholic spirituality.
Lastly, Russia is holding military parade to mark the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazi Germany in the Second World War. The leaders of China and Brazil are amongst those attending the event. Russian President Vladimir Putin has addressed huge crowds in Red Square.
We will always lean onto our unity in war and in peace, in achieving strategic objectives, in resolving our tasks in the name of Russia, its greatness, its flourishing. Long live the people who are the victors, congratulating you on the great victory day.
Recapping on your top stories, Gabon leader Brice Oligui Nguema has named a new cabinet after his landslide victory in a presidential election in April. Prior to his election win, Nguema seized power in a coup in 2023 from the Bongo family that had ruled the Central African nation for over 50 years. Now, for any news stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages.
Down in the morning, and she's been making sure that we updated in the news. She's not alone. We also have Musibudi Makura, who's been joining us, giving us our sports update, and she'll be doing that a little bit later on. And Chandu as well has been giving us our business news today. So thanks to the news team for making sure that we are updated right here on Channel Africa. You are listening to Channel Africa, DSTV Channel 802, OpenView 628. Those are the two audio bouquet channels that you can find. And also you can find us on www.channelafrica.co.za and the SABC Plus app. The SABC Plus app is an app, of course, as you can hear, and you can download it on any app store. And you can listen to us 24/7 any time of the day. Hey, we're going to continue our quiz a little bit later. Hip hop is the theme today. I did terribly today. Bali, I think you're going to beat me.
I'm not sure, Benji. 2 out of 5 is not too bad for a genre like this. I'm also not big on hip hop. But I mean, that's what we always say before the quiz. We don't really know much. I don't think you and I's music knowledge is actually up to par. Well, African music knowledge is actually up to par. But we'll just do our best. Let's see what happens.
All right, let's see what happens. Our theme is hip hop today because we're going to be speaking to a hip hop artist by the name of Jacob. And he is a Mosotho hip hop artist. We're going to talk about the growth of the genre in the landlocked country of Lesotho. He started his career in the year 2013, and he started with a single titled Kideng. We'll find out more about this artist and how he got into hip hop, but also about his accolades over the years and his growth. And sometimes in every country we have our own big stars, and we don't know about each other's big stars. And that's what we try to do with this particular feature, to find out who are the stars that are doing things in different countries and get to know them a little bit better here on the show.
Absolutely. We're doing just that today once again. We're getting you engaged with an artist from somewhere across the continent, somewhere around the continent, and someone that we can engage with, talk with, find out a little bit more about their music, but hopefully learn a thing or two about the world of music here on the African continent. Today, speaking to Maseru, based from Lesotho. His name is Mufokeng, who's going to be chatting to us, also known as Jacob, a Mosotho hip-hop artist, speaking about his growth in the genre in the landlocked country here in Southern Africa. It's 11:08 Central Africa time. Let's keep the things going. Let's keep social media going. Let's be alive. Let's show us that it is a Friday and you're having fun out there wherever you are. At Channel Africa 1, our social media handles on many of our platforms, that like X, like Instagram, like TikTok, as well as YouTube. And on Facebook, we are simply Channel Africa. We also want to hear your voice, ask questions, engage with us on +27 63 406 9126. Wrapping up the week with a bang right here on The Move.
Annika Longi sur Channel Africa.
Nous étions en train de savourer la chanson Démocratie.
Démocratie.
Ça veut dire quoi?
Démocratie, déjà, ça dérive de démocratie, qui est le régime dans lequel nous sommes, dans notre pays. Mais je plutôt pensé que nous sommes plutôt dans une démocratie.
Pourquoi?
Où il y a une cruauté tellement une méchanceté des dirigeants envers la population. En fait, dans cette chanson, je suis en train de blâmer tout le monde. Je blâme et les dirigeants, qui pour moi sont des démocrates.
Oh, je suis maintenant en train de comprendre. Donc, démocratie. Oh!
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Hashtag on the move and connect with us. That unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through...
Is that how they do it?
I'm not sure.
Well, that's a hip-hop theme that we have for today. And we have Jacob, who's joining us there with one titled Ka'nete. Wonderful flow there from the streets of Maseru to stages around the world. The Lesotho hip-hop artist is using the genre to speak truth, challenge norms, and redefine Basotho identity. We're going to be hanging out with Zula Mofokeng. He's popularly known as Jacob, a Basotho hip-hop artist. Hey, thank you for joining us right here on the show, Jacob. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. Dumelan,
Hey. We're very good. We're happy to have you here on the show, man. Sorry, man, my hip hop sense is terrible. But I'm really loving your flow here. And it feels like you have a sense of self and awareness because you are exploiting your indigenous language. What was the decision to actually, just preach and speak in your own vernacular language?
Okay. Yo, my name is Jacob J. Master Wanakheleke, all the way from Bethlehem, but I grew up in Lesotho.
Okay.
And hi, Bethlehem, Free State.
Sure.
So the kids I'm on a Free State. So I'm still pushing Sesotho. They push Sesotho from 2012 since they push Sesotho. ntse re pusha ntse re leka o kena mo gona go keneya re gona go etsa tse gona go di etsa ke J Master ngwana geleke.
And how did you start? Because flowing in vernacular is not very easy, Jacob. Man, it's easier to do it in English, but then you have to work extra harder to actually master it in vernacular. Tell us a little bit about how you started rapping.
Oh, well, I think vernacular is my thing, because back in the days we used to go to the battles whereby Riara, the battle. So the battle and this is where like I got this. Moeloring make be creative, ka Sesotho ne khona ke be creative ka vernacular. So ke teng moeloring the cipher tseo di letsang fa confidence ya yo man, you can be able to write ka your own language, you can be able to write ka puo ya how moeloring batho ba tlo khona go utlwa ba understand there. Especially Basotho kapo batho be lo reng ba understand the Mino, because Mino at the end of the day is the universal language, you know.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's an interesting one. What happened to those ciphers, man? Those were important, you know, in the street corners when we used to hang out. You know, do we still have ciphers today? Because that's where you actually sharpen your skill.
Nah, not really. Not really. We don't have ciphers no more. I don't know what happened to those kind of things, but we don't have ciphers no more. I think the piano culture took over. I think. Yeah,
let's not blame everything on the Amapiano guys.
I mean, Amapiano just arrived, Jacob. Amapiano just arrived, bro.
But this things the cipher. Back in the days, like from school, rekopana fela ya ba di cipher whereby ga rapper. Now majita bana ba know se ba jaifa, they are more into dancing. You know, that's why I'm saying Amapiano took over. I like before kana kwa mone re tseba yo ra tseba after school ga kopana kai at the corner ke skolo sena na we out here.
Are you there, Jacob?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, I hear you, man. Okay, let's go back to your career. You started in the cypher space, and then I'm sure that's where you start becoming popular, because people are like, that guy's got some fantastic lines. When did you start saying, you know what, I want to record, I actually want to take this thing serious?
Oh, well, this cypher thing went deep. It went to the radio station, this other radio station in Lesotho, whereby they were voting via listener's choice. Whereby we go there, we split our bars, and the listeners call and vote for us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And at that radio station, that is where they told me, make your own single, submit it so that we can push your single.
Yeah. And then what did you do after that suggestion? I mean, to go into a studio, it's costly. Or did you go to a back room of a friend who was a beat maker and you laid out your lyrics there? How did you go about recording?
Oh, we had a crew back in the days called Cyber Cyanide. In this crew that we had, there were like two producers, like niggas who knew about producing and all that. Even though the quality wasn't that dope, but we were just going there to record. Until like they figured it out. Like, okay, we can be able to master this guy this way. We can be able to put his vocals this way. You know, like
just
like
hustling,
that.
man. Yeah, sure.
Yes, like that, until I submitted my stuff on radio, and they loved my style because it was trap in Sesotho. There was no trap in Sesotho.
Okay.
You know? Yes, and my single was Kiting, and Kiting changed the whole game. Like Kiting changed the whole game, like the whole scenario of hip hop. Because back in the days we had Commander Ops, Andrianto, Mads, those kind of MCs. They were the ones that we knew. Okay, we have these bros who are pushing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I came through ka style sa se kgethileng trap and ya chincha game me and kaofela after getting ke pusha mathata lefatshe le tse ding. That's when like give me la chincha Sesotho
All right, fantastic. You've also been started with some awards. You won Song of the Year at the Ultimate Music Awards. We want to find out your journey before that and as you actually were getting these accolades as well. I see you, Moses Makungwa, there on our live. I see Mwai Namatumbo on our Facebook Live and Linkstone Rogers and Andrew Okocha. Thank you for joining us there on our live stream. Let us know where you are listening to Channel Africa from. Today we're joined by Jacob. He is our artist profile on this Friday, hailing all the way from the beautiful Lesotho. Do you know any hip-hop artists from Lesotho? Do you know the game back in the day, as he's making reference to? Which artists do you know from Lesotho who are in the hip-hop game? Let us know. We'll continue the conversation with Jacob after this break.
Celebrate unity, progress, and pride with Channel Africa this Africa Month.
Nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home. Africa,
Listen in on SABC Plus, DSTV Audio Bouquet 802, and Satellite Channel PAS 10. Channel Africa and you have got something in common. The thirst for knowledge. Every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's
Hey, Hakis Bye. Beautiful one here. Hakis Bye by Jacob. And he's hanging out with us right here on The Move this morning, chatting to Lesotho-born hip-hop artist Jacob, who's known as Zula Mufokeng, but of course known out in the streets as Jacob. He's multi-award winning and is chatting to us about his pursuit of the career and of course the genre and what it symbolizes and how he's including his Sesotho culture within that music stream. Thank you for staying with us, Jacob. Beautiful one there. Tell us about this one. It sounds like a little bit of a diss track. Who are you actually trying to diss with Hakis Bye?
No, I guess it's not a diss track. I guess I was just vibing with Kila. I guess of course,
Yeah.
I guess
Well, maybe explain to everyone else who doesn't understand what Hakis Bye means, because it's Sesotho, but it's also slang. It's a very township slang. You can hear that anyway in our streets here in South Africa as well.
Yo, Hakis Bye actually kinana ke lentswe le bolelang hore Hakis Bye like ke emela taba yak, ke emela taba yak, Hakis Bye like this and that. No man, Hakis Bye, I don't need that. Ke sharp, Hakis Bye, yeah.
I love that. Well, let's speak about your career because, in the time that you have, started hip hop, you've gone through a lot of, different parts of your career. But there's also this part where, people started to get to know your music and all of a sudden you're winning awards left, right, and center. Usually when an artist starts winning awards, they realize that, hey, I actually have something really good on my hands. But you also want to expand to make sure that, you use this talent to its best ability. So once that started happening for you, what was the next step for you with your music?
When I started this music thing, it was just an hobby. Only to find out there is more into it. Only to find out this is actually the business. You need to learn more about it. You need to know now it's so like back in the days, I didn't know much about music business. Okay, they are just there, for the platform, but what we deserve.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we kept on, challenges sona dingata tse leng motho kopana le tsona through this scene ya mmino but ntse ke tlo bolela yena fela ke gore I'm still out here ntse ke pusha ntse ke sebetsa as much as hona le challenges tse can solve tse bang teng but ntse re sebetsa o kila bona ke yona ntse ne ke batla ho itshokere back in the days mo le gore ke la ka ne ke bitso la ka ne le matla ha ke ka ba le monyetla wa like ke kopalla batho ba le gone ba sebedisa talent ya ka to their own advantage yes hence ke tshong ke I'm still out here ntse ke le ka uzama o pusha bona go ke nne kopanang batho ba tsebe ba nketetseng galo I'm still out here because the platforms tsene ke di thola back in the days like only so I'm out here ntse ke sebetsa I'm out here ntse ke sebetsa and I won't say I'm still trying to push. I want to be like one of those artists this guy from way back when this guy this guy, all those kind of things. So I'm still out here.
Love that. And as you said, you're still out here, you're working. What are you working on? I mean, can we expect any projects from you in 2025?
Yes, I'm currently working on my EP on a rally. Maybe before the end of this month. Yeah.
I love that. Tell us a little bit more about that. Who are you in studio with? Are you working with anybody in particular? Are you collaborating?
Oh well, so far I can studio training on it. Boat Troy on it. Nice. Black Steel on it. I can challenge on it, but the project project from all the music that I've been doing.
I love that. Well, it sounds like it's going to be incredible. We can't wait to hear what you release this year. We're about to say goodbye, so let us know where we can find you, Jacob, and where we can find your music.
Oh, well, Jacob Poteng on social media ke JCOB, Instagram ke Jacob J Master, Facebook ke JCOB.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for your time. Your music is incredible, and we're looking forward to hear what else you come with in the year 2025. All the best, man.
Thanks for the opportunity, Channel Africa. Palesa,
Benjamin.
Oh, Benjamin. Sorry, bro.
Benji.
Benji, bra, Ben. Thank you so much. That's Jacob. He's a Lesotho hip-hop artist. We're playing you out with this one by Jacob. This one is titled Masine.
Only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning.
Coming to us from Lesotho, and of course unpacking his life in hip-hop right here with us on The Move. It's 11:30 Central Africa time. Time to bring back Musibudi Makura for our latest and final sports news for the morning.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Good morning once again from the Sports Desk. We'll start with news just in. So Cricket South Africa have announced the appointment of Shukri Conrad as the Proteas men's all-format head coach. Now, Conrad, who has led the Test side since January of 2023, will now take charge of the white ball formats, starting officially with the T20 Tri-Series against Zimbabwe as well as New Zealand in July. The 58-year-old will oversee as well the national team across all formats through to the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup in 2027, which will be hosted right here in South Africa. This appointment also forms part of Cricket South Africa's broader restructuring of the national team strategy, which also includes the reintroduction of the national convener of selection. Conrad's next assignment will be the ICC World Test Championship final against Australia, taking place between the 11th to the 15th of June in North London in England. While defending champion Senegal kept their title defence alive with a hard-fought 2-0 victory over the Democratic Republic of Congo in their final Group C match at the Total Energies CAF Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations tournament on Thursday night. Now, Ghana's 1-0 win over the Central African Republic in another fixture played at the same time last night meant that only a win would suffice for Senegal, who came into that match with just one win and 1 point rather from their opening 2 games. The result means Senegal finished second in Group C on 4 points behind leaders Ghana, who are on 7 points and will now face off with the Group D winner Senegal in the quarterfinals of this competition. It was also a spirited display from the Congolese team, who had impressed earlier at the group stages with a win over the Central African Republic and then a draw against Ghana, but their failure to keep a clean sheet throughout the tournament cost them a lot, and a place, of course, in the quarterfinals of this year's competition. In the Europa League semi-final second leg that took place last night, Tottenham Hotspur now having a chance to end a 17-year trophy drought. They'll face off with Manchester United in the Europa League final on the 21st of this month. This after navigating a tricky trip to Bodo Glimt and securing a 5-1 aggregate victory on the night last night, following a 2-0 victory in Norway in the second leg of the Europa League semi-final against their opponent. Ange Postecoglou is the manager at Tottenham Hotspur.
Couldn't be prouder of the lads. We knew it was a difficult place to come. Well aware of kind of the record they have here and the pitch and all those kind of things. again, I think the lads handled it really well. Fully deserved on both legs to get through, and exciting. We're in the final.
Meanwhile, Manchester United are in the final of the Europa League following a 4-1 win over Athletic Club, completing a 7-1 aggregate victory also on Thursday night. It was a difficult season for both Manchester United as well as Tottenham Hotspur, but this difficult season will now end with one of these two teams securing, of course, a Champions League spot for next season. United manager Ruben Amorim is already thinking of the final, and he's quite nervous about this upcoming final.
It's the least we can do for these fans, for all the support that they gave us in this tough season. But I'm stressed already because of the final. Because if you don't win it, in the end, it's nothing. So we are happy to be there. Let's see it.
And finally, in tennis news, defending champion Iga Swiatek cruised through to the Italian Open third round with a crushing straight sets win over Italian wildcard Elisabetta Coricreto. Now, Swiatek won 28 of the 35 service points and did not face a break point as she wrapped up a 6-love, 6-1 victory in just 52 minutes. The Polish world number 2 is seeking a fourth title in 5 years in Rome, with about 18 of her past 19 matches at the tournament being straight sets victories, the exception being when she retired from the 2023 quarter-final with Elena Rybakina. Swiatek will play Danielle Collins in the last 32 after the American beat Elena Gabriela Rus of Romania 6-3 and 6-3. The 23-year-old, who will bid now for a fifth title in 6 years at the French Open later on this month, has reached at least the quarterfinals of her previous 8 tournaments but is yet to win a trophy this season. Meanwhile, Japan's Naomi Osaka continued her fine run of form on clay following a 2-6, 7-5, 6-1 victory over Swiss lucky loser Viktoria Golubic. Now, the 27-year-old has traditionally struggled on clay, failing to make it past the third round at the French Open, but has now won 7 successive matches on the surface. Her victory at last week's Al Open 35 de Saint Malo was her first clay court title and her first WTA title on the surface since becoming a mom in July of 2023. And that's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. Have a great sporting weekend. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Have you been struggling to find Channel Africa?
Oh yes, where can I find you guys?
Well, you are in luck.
Warning, radioactive zone detected. Please enter.
Listen to the African perspective on our brand new SABC Plus app. Download the fresh and easy to use app from sabcplus.com or the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Or just command your phone to find SABC Plus on your phone and check out all this good stuff. And that's where you will find Channel Africa, the African perspective. Oh yes, this is fresh and easy. No time to waste. Be on the move with Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa.
All right, it's time for us to wrap up our business news for the morning.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin and Palesa. Good morning. Credit ratings Moody's says banks in sub-Saharan Africa will not be directly impacted by U.S. import tariffs, but second-round effects, including their impact on the macroeconomic outlook and on China, could still bite. The impact is likely to include higher funding costs and fallout from slower growth in China, which is a big export market for sub-Saharan African commodity exporters. Moody's said this in a recent report on African banks. The Guinean government's move to revoke Emirates Global Aluminium's EGA mining license stemmed from the company's failure to fulfill its commitment to construct an alumina refinery. Guinea has launched a process to revoke the EGA license, escalating a dispute that began in October with the suspension of the Emirati company's bauxite exports and mining operations. Joey Lihodi reports.
The move by Guinea, the world's largest bauxite exporter, threatens to further disrupt global aluminium supply chains and signals the resource-rich country's hardening stance toward foreign miners as the junta that seized power in September 2021 pushes for more local processing of minerals. A second source within Guinea's Ministry of Mines says that officials had sent a final reminder letter to EGA regarding its refinery commitments, but the company did not respond.
Rwanda's Finance Minister Yusuf Murangwa says the economy is forecast to grow at a slower pace this year than in 2024, while government spending for the 2025-26 fiscal year is expected to rise by about a fifth. Murangwa says the economy is projected to expand 7.1% this year and jump to 7.5% in 2026. According to Rwanda's Statistics Office, the country's economy is expected to grow 7.4% in 2027 and 7.0% rather a year later. He told Parliament the economy grew 8.9% in 2024. Kenyan telecoms firm Safaricom has reported full-year earnings before interest and taxes of $807 million, higher than its guidance. In November, the company guided that group EBIT would be between $722 million and $769 million. Safaricom is partly owned by South Africa's Vodacom and Britain's Vodafone. It expanded into Ethiopia in 2022, betting that Africa's second most populous nation would power future growth. But despite strong customer growth, Safaricom has had a bumpy ride so far in Ethiopia due to security, inflation, and currency challenges. Scores of Community Works Program CWP employees marched to South Africa's Northwest Provincial Government offices in Mahikeng yesterday. They submitted a memorandum that raises their displeasure regarding termination of contracts for participants, lack of proper PPE, the decision to not increase stipends for employees, amongst others. They also want full-time employment for CWP workers. Provincial organizer of Manda Ashu Workers Union of South Africa, Mawusa in the province, Tabiso Sitsukelo, elaborates.
We don't have PPE. We didn't receive any relevant training. They promised that everyone that leaves this program will have gained skills to improve their lives, but nothing has been done. There's a budget that comes out every year. We want to know where does the budget go. So, as comrades here, today we have a lot of serious concerns such as new circulars coming in every month. As Mawusa, we say no one will leave CWP.
$1 in Nigeria is at 1,000 naira 608, in Botswana 13 pula 46. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 345, Zambia 26 kwacha 75. BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is 5 real 70, Russia 81 rubles 83, India 85 rupee 35, China 71.23, South Africa $1 is at 18 rand 20, $1 is at 75 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is at $3,322, platinum at $983 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil $63.55 a barrel. That's all from me. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or you can call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Chanduko Ligegi.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Ritmos e cultura com o embaixador da música africana e lusófona Jacobi Wakantivani.
Mombali nanga kasongo mbona wewe songa libala oh yeah Mbona wewe? Mobali nangae.
Tem sentido. Tanto a sua falta. E dos ritmos de cultura. Onde você esteve, meu querido embaixador?
É 2025 e o embaixador da música africana e lusófona Jacob Wakantivani traz todas as entrevistas com os músicos africanos e lusófonos para a melhor dança, entrevistas e entretenimento. Não perca! Todos os domingos, das 20 às 21 horas de Johannesburg, aqui no Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
The Morning Switch Weekend with the Shy Guy.
Just the other day, I went to pick up my daughter from school, and as per usual, her friends, they usually come to my car just to say hellos and goodbyes. So this particular day, they made this comment about my jacket, saying that it's giving baddie vibes.
You say my jacket is giving what?
It's giving baddie vibes. It got me thinking, where did the baddies come from? Because nothing is new under the sun, as it is said. I was like, oh yes, remember the Kenyan parliamentarian? Her name is Millie Odhiambo.
When you are urging me to be a good example to the girls, the younger ones who are doing their first term, Mr. Speaker, if they are good girls, they'll never get corner office. Be as bad as Millie Odhiambo, you will be the mother of this house. So do not be cheated like the African culture, where you are told have decorum, be nice. I'm telling you, you will go nowhere. Be a bad girl like me.
And I thought to myself, that is the original baddie.
Saturday and Sunday mornings belong to the Morning Switch. 3 to 6 a.m. Central African Time. Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa on the move.
11:44 Central African Time. You are listening to On the Move on DSTV Channel 802, OpenView 628, and on www.channelafrica.co.za. Well, we need to come back and wrap this thing up and make sure that we are done and dusted.
Yeah, but we don't want to. I mean, it's been so much fun.
No, I mean the music quiz.
Oh yes, the music quiz. Okay, I'm scared now. I am scared.
All right. Let's see. I've got a few questions for you, and are you ready, Bali?
I'm ready.
Do you think you can win this?
I don't know. I'll try.
It's the hip hop theme that we're keeping going, and yeah. All right. Let me see if I can get this ready. Okay, I'm ready for you, Bali.
Mm-hmm.
First question. I had how many answered in the previous hour?
Yeah, you got 2 out of 5.
I got 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Which artist is credited with founding Motive Records, a prominent South African hip-hop label? Is it K.O.? Is it Tumi Mulekane Stoji T? Is it Reason? Or is it Proverb?
Motif Records. Who's the first one?
K.O.
Okay, no. Who else?
Stoji T,
Yeah.
B. C is Reason. D is Proverb.
I'm going to go with Reason.
No.
Proverb.
No, you can't say it. You've already chosen.
Oh no. Okay.
It's actually Stoji T.
Stoji T. Okay.
Second question. What is the title of Nasty C's debut album released in 2016?
Okay.
Is it Strings and Bling?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Zulu Man with Some Power? Is it Bad Hair? Or is it Iverson?
Iverson.
Yeah, is it Iverson? No.
Strings with Bling?
No, it's Bad Hair.
Oh my goodness. Oh no, I'm doing so bad.
We are terrible at it.
Okay.
African hip hop.
Okay.
Which African capital city is known as the birthplace of the hip hop movement? Yen Amare, which is a combination of activism and rap.
I've never even heard of that.
Is it Accra, which is A? Is it B, Dakar?
Mm-hmm.
Is it C, Kinshasa? Or is it D, Luanda?
I'll go with Accra. Oh no! Okay, now I have to get the next 2 right. If we're to draw at least.
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Which Ghanaian rapper is known for his rapid fire flow and was featured on BET Cyphers? Is it Manifest, which is A? Is it B, EL? Is it C, Sarkozy? Or is it D, Kwesi Arthur?
Sarkozy?
Lucky guess.
I'd like to guess at least
Lucky
one.
guess.
At least that's 1 out of 5.
Okay. And then what is the name of the Pan-African hip-hop TV show that aired on Channel O and helped launch many careers?
Okay.
Is it A, Hip Hop Central?
Mhm.
Is it B, Channel Flow?
Mhm.
Is it C, Yo Africa? Or is it D, Raw Session?
Oh no. Give me the options again, please.
What is the name of the Pan-African hip-hop TV show that aired on Channel O and helped launch many careers? A, Hip Hop Central. B, Channel Flow. C, Yo Africa. Or D, Raw Session?
I'm gonna go with A.
No, it's Yo Africa.
Yo Africa. Okay, that is 1 out of 5. Benjamin takes it.
Yay.
That is a hip-hop hit. And now you're going to rap for us. Go ahead, Benji.
No, I'm not going to
The
rap
cat's
for
in
you.
the hat. Aren't you going to rap for us? You're a hip-hop hit now, after all. You won the hip-hop quiz.
No, I don't want to embarrass myself. Let's take a break before I embarrass myself.
Have you been struggling to find Channel Africa?
Oh yes, where can I find you guys?
Well, you are in luck.
Warning, radioactive zone detected. Please enter.
Listen to the African perspective on our brand new SABC Plus app. Download the fresh and easy to use app from sabcplus.com or the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Or just command your phone to find SABC Plus on your phone and check out all this good stuff. And that's where you will find Channel Africa, the African perspective. Oh yes, this is fresh and easy. No time to waste. Be on the move with Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa.
Clarity is clear too.
Nationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world.
Thames replay, and before that you heard Elaine with You're the One. It takes us to 11:55 Central African time. We're getting out of here, and we've got Lulu, who is joining us to let us know what is expected on her show, what's coming up on the Africa Update. Hey, Lulu.
Hey. You know, it's a Friday. Happy
it's
Friday.
FriYay.
Yay. All right, and we have a new pope. You know?
New Pope.
Hey,
Mara, we wanted an African Pope. Why an American Pope?
Yeah. Well, next time.
Next time.
All right. So coming up in Africa Update today, we're going to be speaking to Jonathan Mazowa, who is a communications director at Survival International. This is in regards to a major conservation charity linked to Prince Harry having admitted that human rights abuses were committed by its rangers in Congo-Brazzaville, following an independent review into allegations made by members of the Baka community against African park rangers. So, a big story, and I guess the fact that it is linked to Prince Harry makes it even bigger. You know, because I guess the prince of the United Kingdom, and Jonathan Mazowa will unpack that for us as to how these allegations came to light and so on. And then also the United Nations World Food Programme and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, have warned that more than 60,000 malnourished children in South Sudan's Upper Nile state are at risk of plunging deeper into malnutrition. Treatment supplies running critically low. So there's a lot to unpack there. We're going to be speaking to Ruth Situma, who is the Chief of Nutrition at UNICEF. All these and more coming up on Africa Update.
All right, thank you so much, Lulu. Looking forward to that. Stay with us right here on Channel Africa. That's goodbye from me, Benjamin Mosha, Tama, and Palesa. We leave you with the Mina now. Bye, ladies and gentlemen.
Listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every